Hey, what's going on, you guys? I hope everybody's doing good. I just wanted to talk about Nightmare on Elm Street, the Dream Master. Now, I'm on disc 4. Now I'm doing the Dream Child. It looks like when I watch this, it looks like they try to keep going from the next one to the next one or something like that. But Dream Warriors had Patricia Arquette. And it looks like they were trying to use that girl as a Patricia Arquette replacement. Not sure because when I seen it, I was like, oh, that girl. It's like I don't know, you guys. I'm not sitting there saying I don't like it, but it's Dream Warriors really spoiled me. But when I watched Dream Child, it did have some redeeming qualities in it. Like I like there was a loop in there where she was trying to save her girlfriend that worked out, and you know, Freddie is killing off all her friends, and he was trying to kill off the last two people that was actually uh, the siblings of the parents that actually killed him. And so when he killed, because that one black guy was still in it, he was in it, and then that other kid was in it. They both got killed. But I think what was neat about this, and it's been a while since I watched it, was the fact that she absorbed their characteristics. Let's just say she every time one of her friends died, she absorbed their characteristics. And then her and her brother was raised by their dad because their mom got sick and passed away. That's how they set this movie up. So their dad was kind of like a grumpy dude coming home from work and talking to him kind of like crap. And then the son was taking up martial arts, and he knew a little self defense. And then she had a crush on this jock that was a football player, but he kind of like he was nice to her, but I think he was dating some other chick. And so as people progressively start dying off, she would absorb their characteristics. I'll just say absorb their characteristics, which I thought that was pretty slick. Don't get me wrong. So I'm watching it, and I think with me, and I'll be honest with you, I'm just telling this the best way I can. I just think that the Dream Warriors kind of really messed me up because I really enjoyed that Dream Warriors. But to be honest with you, though, when I watch all these uh, Nightmare on Elm Street movies, to me, it's no different than watching the Friday the 13th movies. And the reason why I say that is because Friday the 13th, I love the first one. And I remember liking three, and then there was quite a bit of the Friday the 13th I liked. So when I sit and watch this, because it has been a long time since I've watched all the Nightmare on Elm Street, I do remember Nightmare on Elm Street. And when I was watching, I was sitting there saying to myself, I was like, yeah, I remember this part. I was so young back then. I said, when he said, her girlfriend said, wear this bracelet that it's like a steel bracelet had these spikes on. She goes, it'll protect you. And then I said, I think I remember that part. And then she worked out, and then she was trying to convince everybody that all her friends are dying, and Freddie's coming back and killing all her friends. But then they didn't believe it. And then the girl that worked out's like, we'll kick his butt. And she goes, Freddie, we need more than somebody that knows how to pump iron to kick, Freddie's butt. But there was a really cool scene in here when her and that football player that she had a crush on, because she had her mirror covered up. And her brother's like, why you don't want to see your reflection? And I thought that was pretty cool how she peeled off people's when people died and stuff, they had pictures of them, and she would peel off a picture and then it showed part of her face, and then she would see part of her face. And then as the movie kept progressing, you could see her build up her confidence. But she also, every time somebody died, she always ended up getting possessing their characteristics. Because even her friends was like, what? She's acting a little different, don't you? Every time we see her, she acts a little different, and I like that part. But then when they decided to take on uh, Freddie, they always going to meet that girl that worked out in the gym. So she she had to be there at a certain time, but her dad kept keeping her from going. So finally, she was able to sneak out, and he was waiting on her in his truck. And he thought he had stood her up, but then she kept, so she came out the window, and she jumped down because that's how her son, her brother would go out the window, and then he'd get on this little roof, and then it wasn't that much of a drop, and then she ran to go meet him. Then just kept looping, and then finally that they take off, and then next thing you know, she's still running past that cafe. And they take off again. It was the same thing. And I'm sitting there watching. I go, man, I don't remember this part. They did it like 5 or 6 times. Finally, that guy's like, man, I think we did this before. And she goes, Freddie had done that, made it to where they couldn't get there to that girl. Then when when she started working out, Freddie had it to where he was pushing down her bench, and he made her bones pop out in her elbows, and she was, yelling and screaming. And I remember sitting there saying, "Man, that special effects, it looked dated now by watching it." But I was like, I see where they was going. Did she end up being turning into some like bug? And I was like, did I miss something when I seen her turn into this bug? Because she was turning into a bug, and I was like, did she say something about a bug? Why he made her turn into a bug? And then he pushed her face down into this mucus thing, and then her face came off, and then this bug-looking thing came out and stuff like that. And then it showed Freddie having the box like a thing that catches bugs, and he looked in there and he squeezed it and killed her. And then when he killed her, she was in the truck, and she was like, oh, like that. So she possessed her powers, and then because her brother got killed. How did her brother get killed? Yeah, there was a good scene in there where the brother was working out, and he was working out, doing his little stuff and hitting the thing, and then Freddie started fighting him and stuff, and then they did a real good job of Freddie hitting him, and you couldn't tell that Freddie was hitting him, and the way he was acting like he was getting hit, I was like, that's pretty good acting. I remember that part vaguely, you know what I mean? So then he fell down. Freddie hit him real hard, and he put flying this way, and then he got up and he goes, all right. He's all right. So I was like, well, maybe he can see him, but he just got up and acted like he could see him, and then he started putting it on Freddie, and then somehow Freddie killed him, right? So she possessed, she kind of like inherited his whatever ability that he had. So when she went into the dream, there was some good fight scenes with her, putting it on him and stuff, but she was hitting him, and Freddie was just like going like this, and just looking at her and stuff. Yeah. I forgot what's your name's name that played Freddie. He does such a good job playing Freddie, though. Oh, on a different note, did you know that they're thinking about having Jim Carrey do a freaking Nightmare on Elm Street? They're thinking about having Jim Carrey be Freddy Krueger. Man, that'd be pretty slick. If anybody could pull something off like a Freddy Krueger, would be Jim Carrey. I seen that the other day. I was like, dang, that'd be pretty good. But anyway, the original guy, man, he did such a good job. And then there was a part where when he had a pizza and he was eating some of those heads that was screaming, and he goes, ooh, soul food, like that. I think that was in this movie. And then the girl was doing all that fighting and stuff. And I liked the way she was flipping and kicking and all that kind of stuff. So I really, I remember when I was younger, I remember liking that part. Because I remember when I watched that, I was into I was so into Bruce Lee back then, and when she started doing that, I really got into her, you know, beating up on Freddie like that. And I'm trying to figure out, how did she beat Freddie? She did something to Freddie where, how did she? She did something. Dang, man. I was gonna talk about this yesterday, but I had to go to bed. She did something. And I don't know if she took a mirror and but showed his face, and then light started coming out through his body, and yeah, because she knocked him up against the thing, and all these people that he consumed started coming out and consuming him. Yeah, that was it. Now I remember watching that, and I do remember watching that back in the day, and I said to myself, that's pretty slick. I was always curious about how they was able to, pull that off. Uh, there was, there was some stuff in there that kind of made me sick to my stomach. Not like that, just like, yeah, that's kind of gross. Um, Obviously, he pulled off his shirt and he showed all the souls that he had consumed. He had did that in the other movie too, I do believe. But anyway, she ends up beating him, and then he goes all the way down. His clothes just fall down on the fall down on the ground. There's no more Freddy left, because I think all the people that he had consumed came out of his body. But how did she do that? Because, man, I think she picked up some type of thing and she said something, and then she flashed it, and he was like, oh, like that, because she had knocked a hole in his inside. You could see his heart. And then he looked and he kind of smiled and he kind of like put himself back together. I said, oh, come on, man. But she figured out how to take him out. But when I was watching it, I was sitting there going, well, he's going to come back some kind of way. Now, I'm not going to lie. I'm watching Dream Child, and the Dream Master, I just got done. So I'm talking about Dream Master now. But I'm watching Dream Child, and I started watching Dream Child last night. And I'm having a hard time getting through Dream Child. I'm not getting into it. I am going to watch it. But I think that with me, I think that Dream Warriors they was clicking on all cylinders on that Dream Warriors. But I got after Dream Child, I'm gonna finish it either today or tomorrow. But I feel like watching something else tonight, so I'm struggling on Dream Child because it's got the same chick coming back. But anyway, back to Dream Master. See, then she ends up going back. It shows her and that dude together now, that jock guy, and they're a couple now. And then they walk by this thing, and he said, he said, make a wish, and she goes, oh, those things don't come true. He goes, you don't know that, and then she looks in the water, and she thought she seen his red shirt. And I was watching the movie. I said, well, yeah, obviously he's gonna come back. But I ain't gonna lie. I was like, because the way I do this, like I told you guys, this is not Nightmare on Elm Street is not my favorite slasher movie. I prefer Scream over this, but I do like this. So don't get it twisted. I really do like Nightmare on Elm Street, but it's not my go-to slasher, but I still like it. So don't get it twisted. So what I'm saying is that when I was watching this, I was trying to look at it as the way I was looking at Friday the 13th, because there was times I watched Friday the 13th and I was like, I don't remember this and I don't remember that. Oh, I remember this and oh, I remember that. Oh, I like this. Oh, I like that. Oh, I remember not liking this or something like that. So, do I like this? Yes, I do. Is it the best one? Certainly not. Dream Warriors by far is the more superior film. That cast was pretty good. But the Dream Master was not too bad. And so In closing, when I it's so weird because I remember my younger self watching this, and when the chick was working out and she had a boombox kicking in or some music in the background, and there was a song that's in the background. I remember watching back in the day. You gotta understand, this is back in the day. I love that sound, and I love that particular song, and I remember liking that song. It's my younger years. So when I was sitting there and she had it playing when Freddy Krueger came in and pushed the, you know, she was bench pressing. He pushed it down and made her elbows bones pop out, and then they went from there. Got music in the background. Well, at the end, when she sit there and she looked in that pond because that guy that she's dating now said, "You want to make a rich?" She looked in the water and she happened to look. She thought she seen his red shirt. Then it just showed them walking away, and then that song kicked in. Now I remember sitting on the couch, man, and I got a nice sound system, and I let that song play because I did like that song, even though it's a little old. But I loved it. Had a nice little tone to it. I remember liking it back then, and I said, "Oh, I remember that song." I said to myself, "I remember that song when I was younger." I was like, "Oh, I love that beat and that sound." It was the song that came on right when she walked away from when him and her walked away from that wishing, because they was walking somewhere and there was this fountain, and then she looked and she thought she seen his red sweater, and then him and her walked away because she was like, "Huh?" I guess she's like, you could tell herself, she's like, "Huh?" And she walked away with him, and the movie ended, and then that song kicked in. I was like, I remember that song. I remember sitting on the couch over there, and I was like, I let that thing play through, because we all got songs even that we like that is old now. There's people that's younger than me that like songs that are old now because they listened to it back then, and they go like, "Oh, I remember that song. I like that song." So we all have that. But I was sitting on the couch at the end of that. At the end of that, I like that soundtrack. That soundtrack, just that one soundtrack. But there wasn't, this movie really ain't that bad. And to be honest with you, this ain't no different than Friday the 13th, man. There's 13 movies in that Friday the 13th box set. They ain't no different. Ain't no different than Friday the 13th, because there was a lot of Friday the 13th movies I thought was kind of, I was like, "Oh, come on, man." Oh, yeah, I know what I want to say. I was like, "Okay, now how you gonna bring Freddy Krueger back from this?" Well, that's the same way they always seem to bring Jason Voorhees back. I was like, "Dang, man, Jason Voorhees, man, he the only guy I know can get blown up, get shot, get caught on fire. He still find a way, get drowned, and he still come back to life." But long as they can make money off of it, they're gonna do that. But I'm enjoying this, you guys. I really am. It's just that I had to go through these so I can remember which one that I really like the most. And so far, Dream Warriors is the champ. Dream Warriors is numero uno when it comes to Nightmare on Elm Street. And then Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one, is number 2. Now, you probably think, well, number 1 should be number 1. But no, not really, because it's the one that started. But Nightmare on Elm Street is number 2. And then Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy's Revenge. I don't think that movie is near as bad as people say it is. That kid, man, the guy though, the main. It's kind of weird because they never use another guy as a lead. They all went towards women, because that guy, man, he was struggling to me. I mean, I thought he was okay, but it's just like he was struggling on the acting. But it could have just been me, because we were so used to the girl in Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one. Then you switch to a guy. Then you switch back to a girl, which was Patricia Arquette. Then you switch to another girl. And then I'm watching Dream Child. It's another girl. But I think she's getting ready to get killed, because I started watching. I had to go to bed. So I don't know. It's just weird, because I don't think they ever used the lead in Nightmare on Elm Street far as a dude, as a male character. They always went back. ever since Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy's Revenge, that was the lead character was a guy, but it looked like they all went back to using a girl as the one that was dealing with Freddy. So we'll see. We'll see. I know I was all over this place with this, but I just wanted to watch these so I could see what it was all about. I just wanted to see because I ain't gonna lie, I like this. But somebody told me about there's a nice box set that's pretty cheap that I can get, so I'm gonna look into it. Thank you for suggesting that, whoever you are. But yeah, man, I can honestly tell you that I do not say I cannot like any of these movies because I do. If I didn't like these movies, I wouldn't have bought this. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like I don't like these. It's just out of 7 movies, you're going to have one that's going to stick out. And so far, Dream Warriors is the one that sticks out. So anyway, that's all I got. God bless, and we'll catch you next video. But I'm going to drop another video because I got something I want to talk about. Anyway, it's just something about video games. But yeah, I really am enjoying this, you guys. I really am, folks. So be safe out there. God bless.